Today we're going to talk about the next type of sentence, which is complex, which I believe you have very little exposure to.
Yep.
Correct?
Wait, what?
Maybe you talked about complex sentences a little bit, but not a lot.
Like last year, they totally
Okay?
did.
Yeah. We're still in that.
So, what I need you to do first off is look at your grammar cheat sheet and your note card that has the definition of subordinator. So today we're going to talk about complex sentences, and in order to do that, you need to understand what a subordinator is. So on your yellow note card, where you have the definition of subordinator, it says a word that makes a clause subordinate, right? There are three types of words that create subordinate clauses. One of them is subordinate conjunctions, which is on your grammar cheat sheet. They're in alphabetical order. Read through that list. It's on the right side of your grammar cheat sheet. Put a mark by the ones that you think are the most popular. So grammar cheat sheet, right side, there's a box that says subordinating conjunctions. Make a little mark, underline, asterisk, something near the subordinating conjunctions that you think are the most common. So if I was marking them, I would definitely include after, as, and as maybe deserves an underline and a star. Same thing with if. Because my experience is that students tend to ignore two-letter words. Like is. People forget that's a verb. These two words, as and if, are often missed as subordinators. Since is another popular one. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Mrs. Underwood, I can never remember all of these words. You're right, you can't. Good news, I'm not asking you to memorize them. You can use this list on your grammar cheat sheet when you need to. There are a couple clues, like we'll remember these ones that are most popular. Also because. At the bottom here, we have a bunch of WH words. So, when we talk about subordinators, WH words are common. Now, I think you guys have added some other words near the subordinating conjunction box, right? So one of those things you have added is from page 450 in your textbook. And page 450 is the demonstrative pronouns. So on your grammar cheat sheet, you should have already added over here somewhere. You probably can't see that at all, can you? The demonstrative pronouns, which are the TH words. This, that, these, and those. TH, 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 right? Okay, if you look on page 451 of your textbook, then you see interrogative and relative pronouns. All of these are more WH words. And all of these can also be subordinators. These 4, 5 are the most popular. Who, whom, whose, what, and which. You have those written down? When we add the relatives, we're adding ever to the end. So it's really the same as these 5, but then we're just adding whoever, whomever, whichever, whatever. And then the WH words that are already in the box are the where and when. So, words in this box plus WH and TH words. Okay? Make sense?
Yep.
All right. What I would like you to do now is get the note card that has rules for sentences. I think it's pink.
Yep.
You have up to number 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay, rule number 5.
What is the orange card? Oh.
Okay, rule number 5. If you cover up a subordinator, so from now on, SUB stands for subordinator, okay? If you cover the subordinator in a sentence, you should still have a complete sentence. Except remember, no rule is absolute. If the subordinator is a pronoun, you have to use the first subject. And I will explain to you what that means in moments. Okay? Number 6. The number of subject-verb pairs equals the sentence type. If there is only one subject and verb, what type of sentence is that?
Simple.
Simple. Now, if there are 2 subject and verbs with no subordinator, what kind of sentence is that? Compound. If there are 2 subject and verb pairs with a subordinator, what kind of sentence is that? Complex. If there are 3 or more subject and verb pairs, it cannot be compound. Okay? Good?
How many more rules do we have?
Possibly 1.
I'll grab a pencil.
Yep. Okay, now I need you to get out the paper or the note card that you wrote the annotations on. It should look like this. I think it's orange.
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody asked me, is today's worksheet going to be harder or easier? It's going to be harder because complex sentences are harder. Why? Because in simple and compound, you know exactly what you're getting. In a simple sentence, you can only have one subject and verb pair. In a compound sentence, you can only have two subject and verb pairs. But in a complex sentence, you could have one main clause and 5 subordinate clauses. Or maybe only one subordinate clause. So it's harder to identify them because there are more factors. Okay? So, here are the possible annotations. And I can only make up a few of them because there are too many to guess at. The most common way that we use a subordinate clause is to begin a sentence with the subordinate clause, then there's going to be a comma, and the main clause after it. Okay, that's one possibility. After I got my paycheck, I went out for dinner, or went and bought groceries for the first time that month. You can change that up and do main clause followed by subordinate clause. I bought groceries after I got paid. In this case, there is no comma. See, I did that on purpose.
Where the circles are sub-corner.
Yep, circles are sub, underline or main. Okay? You may have some cases where you have circle, circle, comma, underline. Or you could have underline, circle, circle. And we're going to see some of these today. Well, maybe part of them. Sometimes you will even have something weird that looks like this. And I'm going to write you an example of that right now. Okay? In this case, the subordinator is splitting the main clause. So this is what that would look like. Oh shoot, I need to write smaller so I can fit it all in one line. Okay, I'm starting over here. Okay, my aunt who lives in Massachusetts is 50. Sorry.
Yeah.
Judge my bad handwriting. So if I'm having you go through the directions, it becomes even more important to follow the directions when we get to these sentences. So, prepositions in Massachusetts. Verbs. Is, lives. Who is 50? Aunt. And who lives in Massachusetts? Aunt. Except in this case, I have a subordinator who. Now, remember on that rule card I told you could cover up the subordinator and have a complete sentence? If I cover this up, lives in Massachusetts, is that a complete sentence? No. But what word does this word refer to? Aunt. So if I substitute aunt there, my aunt lives in Massachusetts. Is that a complete sentence? My aunt is 50. Is that a complete sentence? Yes. So I have two complete sentences smushed into one. So the subordinate clause begins with the subordinator. So what will be circled here?
Who? And then everything after it, or just?
Who lives in Massachusetts? What's the main clause? My aunt is 50. Now I'm going to tell you right now, when you look at your breathing underwater essays at the end of next week, you're going to find dozens of sentences that look just like this. Except instead of who, your sentences are going to contain the word that. And we're going to do a circle and select on Google Docs when you first look at this and see how many that's you used in your essay. And I'm going to tell you, from experience, you're going to be horrified at the number of times you use that. Sometimes in a single sentence. Now, is it okay to use more than one that in a sentence? It could be grammatically correct, but is it the best way to write that sentence? No. Probably not. Okay, now, someone asked me if you're going to have to, do we have to do stuff in the books today? And I said not really. The problem is, as you can imagine, it's hard to do this in a textbook where you can't write on the pages, right? So today we're going to use this blue paper, if you know what I'm talking about when you see it, to practice complex sentences.
So do we need our book out?
You don't need your book anymore. For this initial practice, we are going to follow every direction step by step. So, also, at the directions, change the directions to say, draw one line under the main clause and circle subordinate clause. Okay, so change the directions. Underline main, circle subordinate. Circle subordinate. See, they sound the same. Look at all that alliteration.
Can you move that up a little bit? Locate sub and circle.
Okay. On your direction card, what do you have? Do you have a number 4?
No. It's the wrong one.
It should say directions.
It's orange.
It's orange.
Oh.
Directions. What are your directions?
Cross out prepositional phrases, locate verbs, or subjects.
Okay, number 4 should say locate subordinator. Oh, this one's much easier to read. Okay, find subordinators, and you can add to this equal circle. Where a subordinator is found, a circle begins. Number 5, 2, equal sign. If the word to is followed by a verb, you're going to ignore it. So write to equal sign followed by verb. To followed by a verb is a special construction called an infinitive. We're not going to study about that because I don't think it's that important. But what you need to know is if the word to is followed by a verb, you're going to ignore it. It is not a verb. Okay, so let's look at this worksheet now. Number 1. After the storm cleared, the flight took off. Step number 1, are there any prepositions?
After storm.
Okay. After is not a preposition in this case because it's one of the most popular subordinators. So, what are the verbs?
Took. Off.
Took and
Cleared.
cleared. And what cleared?
Storm.
And what took off?
Flight.
Flight. So we've connected our subject and verbs. We know there are two, subject and verbs. Next step. Locate subordinator.
After the storm cleared.
After. And we have another little thing to remember. If there's a comma at the beginning of a sentence, we need to pay attention. Is this a complete sentence? The storm cleared.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So when we add after, it becomes subordinate. So, subordinate clause, main clause. Number 2, you will learn to speak Spanish if you practice. Prepositions.
If you practice.
Nope.
If is a subordinate.
If is one of those most popular subordinators. Remember what I just said? You could ignore verbs preceded by to, so we're going to ignore that. I know a girl. Oh no, put the two sentences together. You will learn Spanish if you practice. Okay, verbs.
Learn.
Will learn. Who will learn? And other verb?
Practice.
Practice. And who practices? You. Two subjects, two verbs. Has to be compound or complex. There's no other options. Is there a subordinator?
Yeah.
If. If starts a circle, we go to the end of the clause. You practice. Complete sentence?
Yes.
Is it a good sentence?
No.
No, but is it a sentence?
Yes.
Number 3, I know a girl who sings in the chorus. Prepositions?
In the chorus.
Good.
The end is
Verbs?
sing. Is no one too?
Sings? No. Who knows? Oh my gosh. I. Who sings?
Who's girl?
Girl, but it really is who. And who is a subordinator? So you start a circle. Underline the rest.
Prepositional thing.
Yep, it's part of the clause. Okay, put that. So you don't have homework.